this. We will get through this. The fact is, these anonymous allegations are false, and now the Democrat machine in America has brought forth a troubled woman to make false accusations, statements, many of which exceed common sense. And they certainly exceed the standards of decency in America. I have been married for 43 years to my wife, Gloria. 43 years I've been married to my wife. After watching that press conference yesterday, I called her and I said, "Sweetheart, did you see it?" She said, "Yes." I said, "What did you think?" And my wife said, and this is a direct quote, "I have known you for 46 years because we were engaged for 2 years. That doesn't even sound like anything that you would ever do to anyone." Sexual harassment accusations are serious. And respect for women and all people that I have worked with or people that have worked for me over the years has been a top priority with respect to me. Now, my family fully supports my candidacy, and they know the man that I am. They've been with me all of their lives, my kids. They know who I am. They know the man that I am. However, I ask that the media not drag my family into this. They're not running for president. Some members of your profession have even stalked my family members, calling members of my family and extended family members. I ask you as professionals to direct your questions, your criticisms toward me, not my family. My reputation is something that I've worked over 40 years to build up. I have managed many entities, many companies. I have managed organizations with thousands and thousands and thousands of employees. And now that I'm running for the highest office in the land, accusation after accusation, some anonymous, some not so anonymous, are now coming to light. This is not a surprise. It was expected. But I will vigorously defend my reputation because I will not allow false accusations to compromise or in any way shed badly on my character and my integrity. And this is why I've decided to address these issues directly and forthrightly. I will repeat, I have never acted inappropriately with anyone, period. And these accusations that were revealed yesterday simply did not happen. We are going to take some questions. J.D. Gordon, my communications vice president, we will take a few questions.
When you ask your question, please state your name and your media agency, please.
And please use the microphone.
Mr. Cain, Steve Futterman with CBS News. I'd like to ask you a two-part question. First of all, do you think it is appropriate for a candidate's character to come under a microscope in a campaign? And secondly, you are basically now in a he said, she said situation. She's saying something, you're saying something. They're both diametrically opposing each other. As distasteful as it might be, would you be willing to do a lie detector test to prove your honesty in something like this? Even
yes.
Though I'm sure, go ahead.
Yes, I absolutely would. But I'm not going to do that unless I have a good reason to do that. That was one of the first comments that I made in watching this to my staff. I've also shared that with my attorney. Of course I would be willing to do a lie detector test. Secondly, I believe that the character and integrity of a candidate running for president should come under a microscope with facts, not accusations.
Tim Gaynor, Reuters News Agency. Mr. Cain, an Ipsos Reuters poll released this afternoon showed that 40% of Republican voters view you less favorably after seeing Monday's accusations from Sharon Bialek. Given that reaction, how can you convince non-supporters to vote for you?
Well, first of all, you don't need 100% of the voters, you need 51%. It is natural that some voters will be turned off by the mere mention of the accusations. That's normal and that's expected. And all you have to do is to look at campaigns historically, and you are able to identify those situations where some members of the public, some of the voting electorate, are going to be influenced by the court of public opinion in formulating their impression. But the good news for me in my campaign is that most of my supporters have not reacted to this in terms of belief. Many of them have expressed their outpouring support for the fact that these incidents simply did not happen. So rebuilding the trust on the part of some people, yes, that would be a challenge. But I want to continue to represent those that have chosen to support me and those that are willing to look at the facts and not hearsay.
Hi, Mr. Cain. It's Robin Abkarian from the LA Times. Yesterday, you called these charges insignificant stuff. I think everyone who's ever worked in a restaurant environment knows that sexual harassment can be very commonplace. My question to you is, do you believe sexual harassment is real? Have you ever seen it? What did you see? And how did you deal with it?
Let me reiterate that sexual harassment is a very serious charge. In no way have I tried to minimize sexual harassment in the workplace. Having led many organizations, yes, I have seen instances where it could be interpreted as sexual harassment, and if I saw it, and if it were an employee or a direct report of mine, I dealt with it immediately before the other person perceived it as an infringement of their privacy. And I might add, it's not just men who potentially sexually harass women. I've also seen situations where women have attempted to sexually harass men. It's very serious. And I have made sure that that wasn't something that was tolerated in any organization that I was responsible for.
Hi, Jonathan Carl with ABC News.
Yes.
Mr. Cain, now another woman, one of the formerly anonymous women, has come forward who worked with you at the Restaurant Association, Karen Krassauer. She's now a spokesperson in the Treasury Department, has come forward publicly. What do you say to her and are her allegations? This is somebody who's still working in the U.S. government. Are her allegations not true? Is she lying about them?
Well, to the best of my recollection, since you mentioned that particular name, that is the one that I recall that filed a complaint, but it was found to be baseless. Let's separate something. The accusations were made of sexual harassment. They were found baseless. There was no legal settlement. There was an agreement between that lady and the National Restaurant Association, and it was treated as a personnel matter because there was no basis to her accusations. Those are the facts.
Was she making it up, or was she making up the story, or was she misinterpreting something?
When she made her accusations, they were found to be baseless, and she could not find anyone to corroborate her story. The Restaurant Association handled it. They went through a process to get to the point where it ended up being an agreement, not a settlement. Now, let me clarify that little point. I've been criticized by some members of the media that I have changed my story. When the firestorm started a week ago Monday, I was presented with the accusation of some settlement was made. Settlement to me means that there were legal implications. Later during that same day, I then recalled, after all those years, that there was an agreement. That's what businesses sign with employees who are departing the company. They call it an agreement. Settlement implies legal implications. All of the potential legal implications or ramifications or accusations were found to be baseless.
Andrew Morse, The Wall Street Journal. Still, Mr. Cain, there are now a total of 4 women who have accused you of some form of sexual harassment. How do you explain that? Are they making it up? Is that plausible? Can you explain where you think this is coming from? Thank you.
Well, I happen to think where it's coming from is that some people don't want to see Herman Cain get the Republican nomination, and some people don't want Herman Cain to become president of the United States of America. As you know, when you run for the highest office in the land, there are going to be some accusations that are going to come out of the woodwork. They're going to come from anywhere. And I have said this before. There will